So welcome back to the Python People podcast, the home for data leaders to share stories with the tech and data community. And this week, we wish a warm welcome to Dmitri Sityaev. Dmitri, hello. Thanks for coming in to visit us today.
Hi, Guy. Thank you for having me here.
You're most welcome. So, Dmitri, you are currently the director of AI for Connex One, which is an award-winning omni-channel customer engagement platform. And I think from our very first chat, it's fair to say that you've had a particularly interesting journey in your role there, building out both the AI side of the product from scratch and pretty much growing the whole data science team from scratch as well. So today we thought that we'd pick your brains on how you've gone about doing that and hopefully hear a little bit more about your journey in that business. So before we talk about that, I guess, and all the great work you've done at Connex One, let's talk a bit about you. Talk us through your journey through data science and I guess how you've arrived into to tech leadership, if you'd be so kind.
Of course, yeah. So I started in a most non-technical fields. My first degree is in languages, pretty much kind of the opposite of tech. I did bachelor's in English and German, and subsequently, I thought, okay, what do I do then? The natural progression to me seemed to be, okay, why not do a master's? And my next choice was actually decided to do master's in linguistics. Linguistics is essentially a study of languages. When people ask, do you actually learn a particular language? No, it's a science, it's scientific matter that looks at different branches of language, how they work, how they're structured. For instance, you look at sentences, how they work, what makes a question, how you pronounce certain things, phonetics. So that's particularly interested in the science of phonetics. That's a branch of linguistics that looks at sounds, how we pronounce, how we articulate them, and then naturally it kind of led me to my first job in speech, which was a research engineer working on commercial automated speech recognition systems. So the natural overlap from phonetics background and into technology. That was the first step into technology from a non-technological field. And then I spent quite a few years developing commercial text-to-speech and speech-to-text systems. After that, I kind of branched out into the world of contact centers. Contact centers, these days are sort of omni-channel engagement platforms pretty much, but contact centers were heavily using the speech technology. You can think of those applications that, take calls and you're interacting with the machine, a robot. So it greets you, it asks you for your, say, date of birth, your account number. In the core of it lies, again, the same application of speech-to-text technology. So spent quite a good numbers of contact centers, and after that ended up, I think the goal in my design was obviously just to stand beyond speech and to extend the knowledge, the application of my machine learning to wider fields, and hence I ended up actually working for Connex.
Cool.
So it's kind of been a journey from quite a non-technical background and ended up in a technical field. It's kind of a circle of life, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that. I'm always really interested to hear people's journey into data science because I guess it's one of those relatively newfangled. I mean, like statistics and that kind of thing have been around obviously since the 70s in the real world, but it's a newfangled field, I guess, and it's attracting, I think, a lot of very bright, curious, sort of problem-solving mindset people into the industry, and I can really see that sort of overlap between linguistics and, like I say, phonetics, especially when you think about areas like NLP within data science. Obviously, it's a huge area, with a lot of investment going into it. So, brilliant. Okay, well, really, really, really interesting to understand that. So, talk us through then, I guess, your role within Connex One, the journey you've been on, kind of what you were tasked to do when you started there, and I suppose where we are today and how the last few years have gone for you.
Of course. So when I first started, I think we barely had any data scientists, probably just one data scientist in the company, and the first brief to build an in-house speech-to-text system. So that's why I guess I was picked for the job. the challenges of building such a system for a contact center are massive. You deal with quite noisy speech channel, agents talking to customers in a noisy call center environment. There are obviously accents involved. Sometimes we have to deal with very compressed speech, where there's not a lot in the signal. So there were a lot of challenges about building a quite and fully scaled speech recognition system that will be able to understand, say, accents of the North, of the South, of Americas, of South Africa, etc. So yeah, like I said, there was quite a challenging task. We only had about one data scientist at the time. So essentially, started tackling the problem, trying path A, path B, making sure we have a couple of plans in our back pocket if something doesn't work out, and at the same time, kind of growing up the team as we completed this first project successfully. There were other projects that were rolling in. So yeah, I think from year 1 to year 3, we've managed to grow the team from about 1 2 people to now 15 people.
Wow.
Yeah, quite an amazing journey. So if we had to sort of summarize, so my main duties and responsibilities lie in essentially building and enhancing Connex One's propositions in terms of AI feature and functionality, and also grow the team and enhance our company.
Fantastic. Great.
So amazing talent.
Yes, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about how you've built that team, and kind of that's a hell of a journey to go from first person through the door to a team of 15. So great work there. But yeah, in terms of I suppose how you've gone about building that team, talk us through a little bit about, are there any particular approaches that you take when it comes to scaling a team, and talk us through your approach to that.
Sure, and I'll be happy to share some of the stories and some experiences that probably will be handy for anybody who tries to build a team from ground up, from scratch, and expand on it. First, I want to talk about division of labor. As most data scientists will know, the data scientists come in very different varieties, different flavors of what is normally known under the generic umbrella of data science. For instance, you've got data engineers, you've got data science, you've got machine learning engineers. So at Connex, we distinguish between data scientists and machine learning engineers. So data science essentially are those people who know all the inside outs of machine learning, all the algorithms. They take the data, they analyze the data, they try to spot the patterns, and then based on what they're required to build, they try different algorithms. They apply these algorithms to see what particular algorithm produces a better solution. So they do, they work kind of offline. Different experimentation involved. Sometimes you try path A, it doesn't really lead you anywhere. You've got to step back and try something else. So once they're happy with the solution, once they found the best algorithm that works best for them, they hand over their work to machine learning engineers. And the job of machine learning engineers is actually take the code, which may not necessarily be quite production ready. So take the code and essentially productionalize it, put into production. Make sure it works. Make sure it can work under load. Make sure it's optimizable, and make sure they write good, clean, functional code. So having this distinction between data scientists who don't necessarily know how to deploy things or may appreciate certain difficulties around deployment, and machine learning engineers really helped us, work seamlessly and drive the product together and roll out the product into production. That's one thing. Yeah.
That's just a question around that, because I think it's a really interesting differentiation. Because, like you say, any sort of machine learning based application, especially when you're building it from scratch, has got that end to end of the ideation and initial kind of model building all the way through to deploying that model. And I totally agree with you. I think it's a different approach, a different skill set, to actually, a lot of people that go into that initial kind of data science field haven't necessarily written production quality code before, or maybe come from more of a software engineering background. Obviously very numerate, very intelligent people, but haven't necessarily had that. And we get a lot of companies that come to us and look for the unicorn, the kind of end-to-end specialist that is able to go all the way through from building the model to writing production quality code and deploying it. Whereas obviously you've chosen to differentiate and separate those two roles. And I think that's a really interesting approach, and one that possibly is missed on quite a few companies. So yeah, why did you choose to do that specifically?
So, like you said, there's often a task for unicorn because some startups start sort of constraints around resources that they have. You even see with data scientists sometimes there's a brief to hire data science which knows all the various aspects of data science, including, say, they're expert in natural language processing, in forecasting, etc. That thing does not exist unless you get somebody who is has been in the industry for, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years, and they had an exposure to a particular field for good 4 or 5 number of years. Because ultimately, the reason we decided to split is because we wanted to have a certain degree of certainty that what we build will actually work. And again, data scientists specialize and know better about algorithms, and the machine learning engineers are more pragmatic in terms of they foresee things that may or may go wrong. It's a slightly different mindset in terms of what they're doing, what they actually is supposed to do.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's a really wise approach, actually. And I think, like I said, once you get to a certain size or a certain scale where maybe you're not constrained as much by budget, which maybe earlier stage businesses are.
And often, data scientists come from not all, but lots of them come from commercial settings. And, whilst this is maybe particularly good for what they're doing, the data science work, the appreciation of complexity and the complexity of deployment and things that may go wrong in application when it's deployed is not necessarily something that you discover when actually working in an institution, in a lab, in a sort of academic field.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you think about it in the real terms, I mean, data science is obviously this huge umbrella, isn't it, in today's world that sits across so many different techniques and disciplines. But if you actually think about the innate work that a research data scientist might do in a more of a research-focused environment, and then that of more of an ML ops engineer that's focused on deploying into the cloud at scale, they're very, very separate, aren't they, in terms of the day-to-day?
Having said that, whilst we've just spoken about this kind of division of labor that we've implemented at Connex One, we then kind of we then organize the data science and machine learning engineers into kind of squads. The squad is a small group of, say, 3-4 people. And this is where we mix data scientists with machine learning engineers. When we were first starting initially, let's say when we had a team of about 3-4 people, it made sense to have just one squad. As we grew as a data team, as a data science team, as a company, it made sense to initially add and group scheduled sort of squads around the products, our Connex products. And then when we scaled even further, so we decided to center squads around kind of data science specialities. For instance, we've got the speech squad, which is looking at speech to text, text to speech technologies. We've got an NLP squad, which is growing very fast, as probably you can guess. Now I've got about probably 5 data scientists in the NLP squad. And we've also got forecasting squad, and yet again, another area of speciality that we definitely need expertise in, very specific niche expertise in. So again, comes back to the question of don't necessarily believe in the idea of a unicorn.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And question around how, as a leader, you sort of built that culture. Again, listening to your approach there makes total sense, and the fact you've got these squads where certain skill sets align, makes a lot of sense. How have you gone about sort of marrying together those different squads, to kind of create a harmonious culture where potentially, there could be a little bit of a division of us versus them in certain instances. How have you gone about doing that?
Of course. So we do work in the agile manner. So every day we have stand-ups. Every 2 weeks we have ceremonies. We plan our work. So in the squad, obviously, within the squad, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's alerted to if any problems arise on a daily basis. So people within the squad pretty much know what they're doing. But also, as we've got different squads, we also need to be able to share ideas and keep each other abreast of the progress. So we actually have monthly group meetings where it could be any member of any squad. They come and present about the work they've been doing, get any input, any feedback. We've also actually recently started a machine learning paper club,
Okay.
brown bag, where actually we take out of an hour of lunch, and actually somebody picks a machine learning paper, and we come and discuss this paper in more detail. And actually, that club,
Cool.
we call it actually the Data Science Guild, is open to just audiences beyond the data science team. People who
Nice.
are interested in machine learning can come and also participate in it. So
Brilliant.
definitely there are areas, ways, and forums to enhance the data, the knowledge sharing, all the updates within the group and the team.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's a really smart approach, and I think that's one of the more and more people I speak to, I see as very successful data leaders. I think are those people that get the inclusive nature of what they need to be doing, and actually taking, you know, the stakeholders within the business on that journey, making them inclusive, making them part of you know, the good work that's being done on the data science team.
Of course, but none of this would work if you didn't have the support from the top management stakeholders. You know, at Connex One, the stakeholders definitely invest and place a big, massive emphasis on AI. It's extremely important to have fully AI-enabled products at Connex One.
I think that's a really, really good point, because there's a lot of companies out there that, you know, hear of data science, hear of AI as the kind of new sexy thing. They're like, right, we need to build a data science team, we need to build an AI team. But actually, do they really mean it? And do they really give the support and the resources that, you know, people in your position need to execute on that? And very often I see a lot of leaders that, you know, go into roles that I know are fantastic candidates, you know, really strong data leaders, but it almost feels like they're being asked to do the job with one hand tied behind their back, you know, and they're kind of being set up to fail a little bit. And I think that, you know, if you've got that buy-in at the top level around actually, you know, being an AI forward focused business, that really helps. Yeah.
And in the sense that actually I was lucky, I didn't have to promote to explain what AI does. There's still, of course, certain myths about AI, and I do get up and dispel. But, you know, from that perspective, you know, I was CEO and CTO, very technically savvy, and I was in a lucky position not to kind of fight in my corner, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure you would have done a good job of it anyway, but it's good to know that you're halfway there. Cool. So one more question around the team, I guess, before we go on to a bit of the kind of market in a wider sense within data science. So you've obviously started to, let's say, division of labour, create these squads, split people in specialisms. Aside from those specialisms that align with those squads, when you're hiring for a data scientist into your team, you obviously seemingly built a really strong you know, backbone of great people. Are there any particular traits or characteristics that you look for that's kind of universal across all data scientists and machine learning engineers that you would look for in your process?
Of course. Again, I'll continue that theme of division of labours, because I'll talk about some skills, some sort of technical skills that are important to this or that camp, but also highlight a couple of soft skills that are actually absolutely pertinent for data scientists versus the machine learning engineer. So when we actually look at a data scientist, we do look for, first of all, a very good generic understanding of data science and machine learning. But like I already mentioned, in certain squads we require particular expertise, like be it natural language processing, expertise in forecasting. So like I said, it's impossible to you know, have Jack. You know, so those kind of expertise, NLP specialty, forecasting are very niche. Again, and it's an additional great bonus when you if you have those skills. I don't think it's really productive for somebody who's never had any experience, in-depth experience in NLP, particularly apply for those positions, because, like I said, there's a very niche specific skills that only come through 3 years of experience and practical application of the skill. So, like I said, good for data scientists, good generic machine learning knowledge, speciality if it's required. You know, exposure to all the libraries, but most importantly, as far as soft skills concerned, we place a lot of emphasis into it. Great communication skills. Ability to communicate, and that just goes beyond, you know, daily, day-to-day business, you know, stand-ups, etc. Ability to communicate, present very clearly, concise, command your audience, is something that doesn't necessarily come to everybody naturally. It's a skill you may actually start growing, perfecting, but a skill which is very important for a data scientist.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And on that note as well, do you find the communication piece is almost that, a strong data scientist is able to almost do that translation piece between, recognizing when they're speaking to a very technically focused individual and actually a non-technical stakeholder, and sort of address their, adjust their language, adjust their approach accordingly. So, they're sort of talking to people on their level.
I would say, that's even the higher level of pilotage, so to speak. Absolutely, if you're able to do that, that's great. But even the basic thing, like being able to express your idea, what you're thinking, clearly, concisely, this is something that, you can spot or kind of evaluate even during the initial conversation with the person. And that's, be always mindful of what you say, how you say things, and be always make sure that whatever you're trying to relate is fairly clear to the audience concerned. That's as far as data scientists go. Now, with machine learning engineers, so we look for people obviously with good coding skills, people who are pragmatic, people who can appreciate and see any pitfalls that may lie ahead. But what's the soft skill that I often look for in machine learning engineers? Perseverance. Often, especially these days, we've got to try out new technologies. The technologies come out, they could be buggy, they may not work, you may have to find a workaround. As far as a machine learning engineer is concerned, you may fail a few times before you reach a particular goal or whatever's been set out for you. It's very important not to give up, but just to continue. Only then you'll reach your final goal and be able to deliver on the production. Like I say, communication for data scientists and perseverance for machine learning engineers.
Yeah. Both make total sense to me, and a lot of the clients that we recruit for when recruiting for more machine learning focused engineers, on that thread, very often we get asked for people that have kind of an innate curiosity as well, and a problem solving approach, because they're really keen to think, right, how can I improve this, how can I make this better? And I think that really aligns with what you're saying there about perseverance, because obviously that won't always fall into play day one, but somebody that actually won't let go, with a bit between their teeth until they find the problem, to solve. Totally agree with that. Okay, fantastic. So really great to understand how you've gone about that approach to, building the team in what is seemingly a very kind of complex, speech and text linguistics focused solution. What I'd be really keen to understand now is I guess sort of the wider context as a data leader in the sort of world that we're living in now. I personally find the data science space just unbelievably exciting because of all the advances that we're seeing, and it feels like it's sort of exponentially growing, in relation to other areas of technology and sort of really evolving. So what are you seeing as kind of the most exciting trends in the data science industry currently? And I guess that can be within, relation to the work you're doing at Connex One, or even outside of that, if there's anything in particular that you're finding quite exciting at the moment.
Of course, yeah. If I had to pick probably one area, obviously, is the advances in natural language processing that have been happening recently to put things in a different language. So the rise of the so-called large language models, LLMs, which are capable of handling so many tasks with NLP. I think that's been quite most talked recently themes, and I'm excited where things are going to go in that respect. I think with all the excitement of advancing our NLP models come certain challenges. Those models are massive. They require lots of compute power. Of course, down the line, we're probably going to solve some of the problems. But as things stand, it is the issues surrounding how we use those technology, how we deploy them, how we also make sure we stand in line with the law, the regulations. I think because of the speed, how fast these technologies get developed. Let's say a new GPT model comes out almost every year with more parameters. Larger model that's capable of producing more impressive results. How do we make sure we stay in line with the regulations, but which always kind of tiptoeing behind it. We need to make sure we address it and start thinking about it earlier. And also how we take care of our clients' data and data protection things. Yeah. So not everybody will want to have their data ending up on somebody else's cloud in somebody else's environment. Our clients take data protection extremely seriously, so we're pretty much in a way we are constrained in what we can do given the current technologies and the developments and what we're striving to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think it wouldn't be a podcast at the moment if we didn't talk about ChatGPT in some form, and obviously the advances of language models that we're all sort of seeing now. What role do you see ChatGPT playing, I guess, in your particular context? Do you feel it has a particular use, a particular application within the work you're currently doing at Connex once around that sort of speech and language recognition?
Of course, you can think of lots of application of ChatGPT within the contact center as a service. We're probably talking for hours here, but one particular and very sort of clear and obvious use case is the development of chatbots, or sometimes they're known as virtual assistants, which falls under the generic rubric of conversational AI. So building those machines that can take the interaction out of the agent domain and make sure the machine interacts with the customer. So that's one of the clear case of application of ChatGPT, building a system that's able to interact with the user, answer their questions, complete the task that they're trying to solve to the best of abilities, rather than making the mundane task of taking away the mundane task of the agents. Having said that, ChatGPT currently is very reactive. It's only able to kind of only react to what you're saying. You start the interaction, and it replies to you, and it continues, but kind of in the question answer form, so to speak. I'm really looking forward where ChatGPT going next with in terms of mixed initiative model, whereby it just doesn't passively can reply to you, but actually also takes initiative and continues the dialogue to make sure it collects all the information it needs. For that, it obviously needs the domain knowledge, but also looking forward how we'll be able to accommodate those solutions in our environments. How do we essentially scale down those systems, yet preserving the functionality and the accuracy with which they perform?
That's a really interesting point, actually. I never thought about that before, about ChatGPT. I guess is still, as it exists at the moment, quite a reactive platform, isn't it? And I think that it'd be very interesting to understand how, I think already a lot of people have had their mind blown by, how powerful it is as a, solution. But I think you're right, that sort of next step, when we talk about AI, very often AI, obviously, we're nowhere near any kind of sentient intelligence. But I think that you're right, when we get to the stage where we've got sort of almost like a ChatGPT level of computational power and sort of consistency that is able to marry together context and, I guess using sophisticated knowledge graphs to do that. That's at the point I think people will start to think, actually, do you know what? Real AI is here. Obviously, it's something that's...
It definitely, it feels like it needs another layer just beyond of, responding, and the next layer of intelligence, which will be handling the dialogue and collecting. It needs to know what bits of information essentially it needs to collect.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, interesting. Well, like I say, I think the speed of which it's evolving, it's like every other week there's a new update on the models. So I think it's a very interesting space to watch, especially with Google now, obviously hot on the heels and chomping at the bit to catch up with them. So I think it'll be a very interesting space indeed. Okay, and lastly, I kind of want to draw on, I suppose, there's a lot of value, I think, in hearing how you've overcome certain challenges, and clearly in the role that you've played at Connex One of building a team, you've done an incredible job, but no doubt it probably wasn't a totally smooth ride, and always there's challenges and pitfalls that come along the way when building anything from scratch that nobody necessarily foresaw. So talk us through, if you can, some of the challenges that you've encountered in the last couple of years. I guess the biggest challenges as a data leader, and how you've overcome those.
Of course. If I had to pick actually one challenge, the biggest challenge is actually finding talent. That's probably was the number one challenge for me as a data science lead. So these days, in the UK and in other countries, there's lots of universities which have embraced the importance of AI. You've got, I think we most recently we only had masters in AI, but these days actually you can do your bachelor's data science. There's a massive proliferation of interest in terms of what universities can offer. So having said, and that coupled with the people's interest in AI. Resulted in lots of a massive application pool of applicants, applying for jobs. And now, on the other hand, we've also been lucky post-COVID period. Actually, it's been a rise also in those vacancies that we require those skills for. But I think that we still talk about the need for more and more and more. But to me, more actually translates into finding the best, very good quality applicant, and that's where we've actually been seeing a lot of struggle. We see a lot of people just coming out of university, applying for these positions, and I understand it's not always easy to get that job because you're competing against lots of other people, and B, you still need to have something practical, some practical work that you have fallen back on. And people have been really creative about they use portfolio, their projects. Some actually degrees offer kind of placements, which are very, very tangible bit of work exposure that the applicants can take care of. So, like I said, finding the best people, the creme de la creme for us has been important, but I think we've been quite successful in that respect. So what we've done, we do take our selection process quite seriously. But what's emerging, it is the very first crucial point of selection process are equally as important as the last ones, and I'll explain what I mean. When we have a first chat, there's that initial conversation. I would say it's very important actually and wise to ask to gauge person's generic knowledge of data science, even though they may not be expecting it, even though it's initial conversation. Because if it becomes very apparent whether the person does have the foundation knowledge of the data science or not. Because if you don't do it at the very beginning, essentially you get to round 3, stage 2 to stage 3, and it becomes apparent actually you pretty much kind of wasted your own time and the applicant's time. It's important to gauge person's knowledge right at the very beginning. Yeah. But also at the very end, when you spot, let's say you're interviewing a batch of candidates, you have a batch of 7, 5, 6. If in that batch you find somebody who stands out in terms of the knowledge, in terms of their best fit, don't wait for the next batch. Go for this person, because these people are not going to be there for a long time. They will be snapped within the couple of weeks, months. Like I said, the industry is extremely competitive, and it is extremely hard to find good quality people. I think these are the 2 bits of advice I would give you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, obviously for hearing from my side of the coin, an approach like that, it's really refreshing. Because I think you're right. Obviously, that entry level, we've seen a mass of candidates very recently since data science has become a more, understood and robust practice. We've seen a mass of candidates go into those degrees. And like you said, it does become quite difficult when there is no kind of real world applied experience to bring to bear in an interview. How do you differentiate between those candidates? So I think at entry level, absolutely, it's a real challenge. So any company or indeed recruitment agency, I think you need to develop a very robust filtration process around that. And for us, when we're, obviously we recruit across the range of seniority from very high level exec appointments through to junior data scientists. But from the junior end, what we see is, obviously we'll always make sure we meet every candidate as well, because I think that's the very important point that you raised earlier about you could have a first-class degree in data science from a red brick university, but when you're sat opposite somebody, if they can't articulate themselves or, they don't have the best communication skills, I do think in this day and age it's a really important box to check and, something that you can't really assess from a CV at the end of the day. But the other piece that we see that's quite important as well around that is, do we feel this person actually sees data science and AI as their passion? Or is it somebody that's just in a degree thinking, well, I'll have a go at this because it might get me a job? And actually, when you kind of approach a candidate sort of through that lens, they do tend to separate themselves quite quickly. Those that have done maybe their own pet projects, or, they've gone, like say, done proactive internships off their own bat, that kind of thing, or they've got code on GitHub which they can show. Those kind of candidates, you can sort of tell that they're really in it for the right reasons. And, so I think that's a a really interesting point that you raised. And then about the actual not waiting for a candidate as well. I think that's a very good point because, you know, in this market when, let's face it, a lot of the big tech companies recently have made a lot of mass redundancies, there's been a kind of an influx of talent onto the market, and that sort of supply demand paradigm, you know, the supply has actually outstripped demand for the first time in probably a good couple of years. So in this sort of market, it is a little bit more of a buyer's market, and a lot of clients thinking, well, actually, I've got a great batch of profiles here, but, you know, I'll probably wait for the next batch and make the right decision. I totally agree. The best candidates will always find, you know, a role, and there always will be demand for those candidates. So if you find a great candidate that you want to move forward with, then yeah, I would suggest to move forward. Yeah. So
what we also found very useful is we try to have a candidate being interviewed by as many people as possible within the company internally. Let's say 4 or 5 people, because I really strongly believe that the more opinions you get about a candidate, the better view of a candidate you will have. It's important to, you know, often there are the right agreements, but sometimes you get a bit of disagreement, slight, and, you know, it's not always 50% clear cut. But it's actually very interesting to know and get the other side of the story. You know, everybody comes with perspective, different experiences, and I think having more than 1, 2, even 3 people interview the candidate is a really good idea.
Yeah, totally agree, because it gets sort of more mutual buy-in from the team, doesn't it, when someone joins? But also I think the other way around as well, psychologically, you know, if there's a lot of demand or a lot of competition for a good candidate, I think those companies that have exposed more of themselves to the candidate and they've met more people in the team, I think they're going to feel more warmer towards that company, and more likely, quite frankly, to choose that company over another company where they've only met maybe one person within the team. You know, if you kind of know multiple people in the team and get a bit more of a feel for the culture, you're more likely to secure a good candidate as well. So yeah, I totally agree. Okay, fantastic. Well, I think it's been an absolutely awesome chat, Dmitri. Really enjoyed it, and I like to end every podcast, as you may or may not know, with asking for your one favourite piece of advice that you've kind of gathered throughout your career. If there's sort of one go-to bit of advice that you'd like to pass on to your fellow person, what would that be?
I would say never stop learning. You know, there's with so much coming out, so much new stuff, so many technologies, so many advances. You should always, in addition to the work you're doing, in addition to the great work you're doing, always make sure you set a bit of time for continuous learning. That's very important, and always strive for excellence, even beyond the point of excellence. You know, there's lots of, as you'd find out probably, there's lots of people out there, you know, who are maybe probably better than you. If we try to stretch ourselves, push ourselves very hard, only then we'll be able to succeed.
I love that. I think that's a really great bit of advice, because I look at myself personally. I think when you start to maybe doubt yourself, or, you know, your self-esteem takes a bit of a knock, very often, of course, always learning, always developing, there's a real application to that, because obviously you're growing your skill set and you're going to be better at your job. But I also feel psychologically there's a piece there about you're still growing, you're still developing as a person. And I think that's something very often I look back over my career at the times when I've been probably least happy, and it's actually probably because I've plateaued or become quite stale, and I thought actually I haven't been growing, haven't been learning, haven't been developing. So if you can sort of make sure you're always in that mindset, I think, you know, you stay a lot more positive.
Yeah, not sure if it's a good point to end our conversation on that, but actually having self-doubt is perfectly normal. I would say having self-doubt, doubting your work sometimes, is actually better than not doing it, because if we're thinking, if our work is not good enough, we can push even further, and that would make our work even better. So that's perfectly normal to have self-doubt, and I strongly believe that will only make us even better scientists and better at what we do.
Absolutely. Well, Dmitri, really enjoyed the chat again. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Really appreciate your time. And I certainly will keep my eyes and ears open for all the great things to come at Connex One, and how you guys sort of move forward from here.
Fantastic. Sounds good.
Take care.
Thank you.